I'm gonna give you guys Narz's ultimate cheat because this literally saved me. Like, if you can zoom into my face, like literally, I was just like, I had a aha moment.
What's up, guys? It's Holly, and welcome to another week of 368 GG Reviews. I'm here with my co-host.
What's up, guys? It's Narz. I'm just grooving out. I'm so excited. We're guys. We're gonna be playing one of our favorite games. I feel like you're playing it still right now. Hold up your Nintendo DS. Let me
I may
Nintendo DS.
not.
Let me hold up your Switch. Hold up your Switch. Pull it up. Yeah, you're still playing it. You're addicted. You're addicted.
I may or may not still be playing this game, and I may or may not try to stealthily play this game in my lap as this episode goes on. This is a GG first, I think.
I
Playing
think so
the game as
too.
we're reviewing.
Cause you know what's so funny? I literally have it paused on the screen, so I totally get you. But guys, we're gonna be reviewing Paper Mario: The Origami King. It came out early last month. So we're kind of a little like, well, actually, what it came out like a couple days ago. What was it?
So the launch date on this one, it actually, it came out in July. Um, oh no, Jesus, it did not come out in July. It came out. Oh, why am I saying? I did not put the right release date, guys. I put the release date as the show date. I put it as August 5th. Obviously, we know this game did not come out August 5th.
I think it came out literally like last month. It was July 17th. There we go. July 17th.
July 17th. It came out right around the time that Ghost of Tsushima did because we had to decide which one we were going to play first.
And we picked Ghost of Tsushima because it's good.
And as you guys can see, Narz and I are twinning today because, of course, we have to show our Nintendo love for this episode. This is like, I think we should coordinate outfits more often.
I know, we should. And this is the first time I've ever been able to use this. It's always been sitting on like my back shelf. So now I'm just gonna be like the entire time. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do that to you guys. But we have a lot to talk about for Paper Mario. I think for me personally, I know that you don't have as much experience with the Paper Mario franchise. Do you want to talk to us about that?
So yeah, I actually came into this never having played a Paper Mario game ever. So I never got the chance to play one. It never piqued my interest, and I never really got into it. So I came into this with totally fresh eyes. So I think I definitely had a different experience than you did because, as I learned quickly, there are a lot of things that become intuitive for players that have been playing Paper Mario. In the past that I just didn't pick up on, and my chat had to be like, hey, you should hit that weird square on the ground with a hammer, or hey, there's a spot on that wall that doesn't look like it belongs in the wall. That's probably a secret. And I was like, oh, okay. So you have to keep like playing to sort of get into the rhythm of it. But I had a lot to learn about this game before I actually got into the groove of things. You've played Paper Mario before, Nars, so you kind of know the deal a little bit.
Yeah, if you're an old school Paper Mario gang fan, then you probably are not new to the mysterious and how much effort you have to go into looking for everything. Most Nintendo games are kind of the type where you have to 100% everything, but with Paper Mario specifically, everything you have to literally bang everything. I'm not even kidding you. I'm like banging the walls around me all the time because there's so many Easter eggs, there's so many secrets. And especially with this particular game, getting 100% completion in this game is going to be necessary if you want to really get the full experience. And that's because the secret ending for this game requires you to 100% it. But obviously, the nuances of just wanting to feel like you're completing as much as possible is going to force you to do everything in your power to make sure you're getting everything. You're finding all the toads, you're getting all the coins. So it's not new to Paper Mario fans, but there is a bit of a twist to this. It's gonna pull your heartstrings a little bit, and we'll talk about that much later.
So I learned very quickly, when in doubt, hammer it out. Like if you're not sure about where something might be, just literally start whacking random things with the hammer, and you will probably be surprised at what you're able to uncover. It's really cool because the game will actually give you achievements for finding all of the secrets in an area, finding all of the mystery blocks, or filling in all of the gaps in the map that have had chunks of them being ripped out by the origami monsters, and you can repair, and it'll give you achievements for finding all the secrets on the map. So that's pretty interesting. It's a pretty rewarding way to try and find all of the cute little collectibles that are in the chest. There are a bunch of secret tunnels that I found a lot of those by accident. I'm not even gonna lie. Like a lot of them, I didn't even expect to find something. But I was like, oh, cool, I got a collectible. I had my chat set to backseat gaming allowed when I streamed this game, and I had a lot of Paper Mario veterans in my chat, and thank God they were all so gracious and they were all so helpful and so patient with me because there were so many moments where I could tell that they were like, "Oh, why didn't she just? Ah, it was there was a weird square right there. They should have just. Why didn't she do this?" Like I can understand your frustration now as someone that has kind of figured out how it goes. Uh, but thankfully everybody was really patient and they were willing to help me learn. So this could be an interesting experience for you if you're a person picking up this game for the first time. I know there are a ton of people that are playing these games for the first time because, everyone has a Switch now. If you got your hands on one, everybody has a lot of free time. So there's a lot of people that are new to the franchise now that maybe they didn't expect themselves to be gamers, but they're playing this game. So uh, I say that this is an interesting opportunity for new players to sort of learn the ropes and be guided by the veterans. So thankfully, they're nice.
And they will be, because at the end of the day, like, all we want is for people to also enjoy Paper Mario. And Paper Mario, the Origami King. Wow, that's a mouthful. The Origami King.
It's a long
It,
name.
it's like little. It definitely evolves the franchise. So if you're
Mhm.
new to the whole Origami King, that's totally fine. You're gonna see an evolved version of the Paper Mario series, which is awesome. And we'll talk about what the evolution of Paper Mario the Origami King is to its predecessors, especially if you are a Paper Mario fan and you are on the fence about getting this particular game. We're going to pretty much digest everything, give you details on what makes this different from the actual franchise, what to expect, and if this game is for you as a Paper Mario fan, or if you're looking for something different. We'll lay the details and everything down for you. Matter of fact, you'll get two different perspectives right here on 368 NYC's GG reviews. So again, thank you everyone in chat. We see you in chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Yeah.
And welcome to the GG chat. Yeah, it's a fun time. We write haikus sometimes. That's what
Oh,
happened for Ghost of Tsushima. So
we give
maybe-
special treatments and attention to people who write haikus. So if you do,
absolutely
we'll call you out for it for sure.
keep those
Um,
haikus coming.
because we love them.
All right. So I feel like the first thing we have to talk about with this game, because it's literally tied into the story, it's tied into the whole aesthetic, it's tied into the title. The art style. This is a very unique art style, even for a Nintendo game. Nars, how do you feel about the art style for Paper Mario: The Origami King?
Well, I'm gonna be really matter of fact with you guys, especially since we have an origami concept video linked, just to give you a bit of a digest of it. So, Paper Mario normally takes place in a 2D world. With this game, they take 2D into 3D and they do it in a very artful style, obviously with the use of origami, which is a Chinese Zen style form of artwork that uses paper as its medium. And the concept is that as you're folding the different papers, you're supposed to kind of like have Zen meditation in the process. But in this world, all of origami is evil. So this is really weird because like it's really interesting that they took a completely Zen, non-violent kind of like artwork and they made it the villain of the entire game. So obviously the king of origami, or the origami king, is named Ollie, who you will find out has taken hostage Princess Peach as well as the entire kingdom, and it's your job as Mario to save everybody with the help of your new companion Olivia, who I think is an absolute airhead and probably secret and Instagram influencer model. But I digress.
I love her. Leave her alone, Nars. Nars. I connected with her immediately. How dare you? How
I
dare you?
We can go
I
to court with this
we'll
bitch. We
we'll
can go to court.
we'll talk about characters later. I will talk about how much I love her. We're not talking about characters right now. We're sticking with the art style. Uh, you were gonna say something. You had something you were going to say. You look like you were gonna say something.
I was going to say, thank you very much. But yeah, this a beautiful, awesome art style. I was about to say, I'm the Devil Wears Prada and Olivia is my minion. That's all I have
Oh
to
my
say. And
god.
she would have been fired, bitch. She would have been
Oh
fired.
my god. Okay, well, I think as long as we're not being mean to the characters here, I do think that the art style is absolutely adorable. I definitely think that, the concept of making everything out of paper is such an outlandish idea, but it was executed perfectly. It's really the kind of concept that could only be done with Nintendo because they could do it in such a way that makes it make sense for the IP and also make it enjoyable and silly enough for their fans to still think that it was awesome. I think that it was cool how they added dimension to the Paper Mario world. So, like as Narz said before, it was like previously all 2D. We're adding the 3D element to it with the origami. And the whole idea that you have to help the creatures because you have to flatten them to save them, or like you have to rescue the toads and you have to like hammer their wrinkles out so that they're normal again. I just thought it was really funny, really self-aware, and just an example of an idea that's totally outlandish, would not have worked for just about any company, but Nintendo still made it work, and they made it work for Mario, which is, maybe not the first thing you think of when you think origami, but they somehow were self-aware enough and silly enough that they just took the idea and ran with it, and I had such a fun time, experiencing the art style in this game.
I think it's really interesting because I mean obviously we're looking at a gameplay video right now, and eventually we're gonna get to a point in the video where we get to see a transformation. But it's really cool how as you're playing this game, they show you how some of this paper is being folded and unfolded in this space to become origami. And I think it's really cool how they keep authentic the actual Paper Mario kind of concept and IP, but still kind of evolved it with origami. I like for me, I thought that was amazing. I was like, oh my god, that's so creative, that's so evolved. And I think this is one aspect of it that they did absolutely right. And I wish they would have done this sooner. My only concern is that I really wish origami wasn't the evil aspect of it. Like origami is supposed to be this very beautiful Zen thing. And the crazy thing is that this all started off with the origami festival coming to Toad Town, I guess you can say, and then not being able to actually have the festival and it turning it to be an entire negative thing. I'm hoping it turns around and like we're all friends again and origami is safe, not evil.
I'm with you on that one. I was very surprised that they chose to make the thing that is supposed to be so beautiful and essentially adds a dimension to the Paper Mario world be the evil thing. I thought that was a very interesting choice. But like you said before, I hope that it all just ends up working out and we become friends with the origami people again, because I feel like it would just add a layer to the world that would just be really cute. And you would think that because if they're origami, they're twice as better as all the 2D paper people, and they're twice as nice because they just have more paper to them. And isn't that like the whole world's made of paper? The more paper, the better. Like, wouldn't you think these guys are better? I just, I thought that was like a weird choice, but um, they made the choice with like the villains in the game and like all the origami characters. They made them very well, and it was really cool to see them turning other characters into origami creatures, and then you're fighting bosses and characters that become origami. They weren't always origami, but then they become it, like the first boss that you fight, which is the Earth Velumental. It wasn't always origami, but you fight it in its origami state, and it's really cool to see. You were actually watching it right now, like we're seeing it transform into its origami being, and then that's the boss that you fight in the Earth Velumental Temple, and that's the first boss fight of the game, and it's very cool. So they definitely make the fights visually interesting. That much I can say for sure.
I think it's so cool because it's like the entire world has been transformed into origami. Obviously, like Paper Mario is supposed to be a 2D world, but then they bring 2D into 3D. And so you do have this fun dynamic where it resembles that for Super Mario 64 for the N64, and it pays homage to that. The original Peach Castle looks identical to the castle in N64 with the stained glass windows and with Peach obviously, and even the opening area having the actual sundial in the middle with the sun. So you can see the resemblance to that, but then they take it it a step further. And as you just traverse this world, you see the beauty that we've seen like in Ghost of Tsushima, that kind of like beauty, or just the beauty using 3D animation and bringing out the origami. You can see like the swirls and the paper, it like used like the material in the paper as well. Nintendo was really specific with this, very detailed in the quality of this particular game. And I think that's really says a lot considering that we haven't had a Paper Mario in a while. I feel like we had a huge gap between the last Paper Mario that came out. So they've been working on this one for a pretty long time, and I'm glad that they were finally able to come out with this new I guess continuation of the series in such a beautiful way.
I agree with you. Yeah. So there were a lot of fans that were waiting. So there were a lot of Paper Mario veterans in my chat when I was streaming this game, and they were talking about how they were really excited about the concept of a brand new Paper Mario game to experience. I knew a lot of people that were very excited to finally play it for themselves. So I think it's really cool. I feel like they definitely delivered. That's like my perspective on it, but that's me as a new Paper Mario player. We can get into it in a little bit how you felt, and whether you felt like it was a faithful continuation of the Paper Mario franchise. But we could talk. Oh man, your face says it all. We can talk about that in a little bit. I know there were definitely some controversial things that and choices that they made for this game that there were a lot of Paper Mario fans that were very vocal about these choices. We're talking about the art style. We're talking about how much fun we had playing this game and how we're still technically playing this game as this episode goes on. Did you find this game to be immersive? I think you're I think you're muted.
Yeah, I am muted. I think it's just kind of like that heartwarming mix. So if you're a child, you're gonna like this game. If you're an adult, you're gonna like this game. I feel like there's a lot of nuances with this game that really make it dynamic, no matter what. If you're an old school fan for Paper Mario, if you're a new school fan, I think you're gonna find like little. It's like really quirky. It has its moments where it has some adult humor in it, and so I find that it satisfies the RPG fan in some certain ways. It does not have the turn. It does technically have like the turn-based mechanics, and I want to argue that it does have turn-based mechanics. It just does it differently, but it does have that really RPG ambiance that allows you to be able to explore the main story and then do other stories as well. Then there's a whole completionist aspect. If you want to perfect it, you can absolutely perfect it. Try to find all the toads, all the treasures, all the question mark blocks, and you will get a secret ending. If that's not for you, then that's totally fine too. You can play the game in its entirety. The entire story is fun. It's exhilarating. I feel like I get to the point with this game where I'm just like, it's just such a zen game. It's such a zen game. And I sometimes forget what time is it or how long I've been playing this game. I think I streamed this game one time for almost 9 hours. Like, not even kidding
Oh
you.
my god.
Yeah.
I think it's also worth noting how interesting it is that this game, for all intents and purposes, is an RPG, which is interesting because it's RPG is not exactly the first thing that comes to mind when you say Mario. You don't think RPG, you think platformer, or you think party games, or you think racing, but it's definitely not RPG offhand. But Paper Mario offers a really unique experience with the Mario characters, and I think they really did it in a charming way. That's why, like, I definitely found this game to be super immersive. I'm a very big RPG fan. So getting to experience the world and characters of Mario through the RPG aspect was a really unique thing. I think that the whole gimmick of this game obviously is that everything's made of paper, but it was done so well and it was so self-aware and so silly that I found it to be such an enjoyable place to just sit in for a while. Like I would play this game, I would stream this game, and then even after my stream was over, I would still play the game off on my own, and I played it all the way on like the train over to the studio today. Like I can't put it down. I think that the more you get used to the environment, the more that you pick up on things in your surroundings, how many collectibles there are, how many toads you can save. This is a game for observant people. You can really get lost trying to find all of the secrets, all of the collectibles, all of the toads, and you really get like put down this rabbit hole where all of a sudden you're like, oh, did I get all the toes in this area? Oh, did I get all the not so bottomless holes in this area? And then before you know it, like hours and hours have passed and you still have only completed like two streamers because you got so caught up in everything. And you're like, wow. So I definitely was very impressed by how immersed I was in this game because I had my doubts before I started playing because I'm coming from a background of never having played a Paper Mario game before. So clearly I didn't understand the magic of a Paper Mario game. And now I get it. I think the whole aspect of the game where anything in the environment could potentially be something that it's not quite as it seems, it adds to how immersive the game is. Because you could spend hours just like hammering random rocks or hammering random stuff just to see what you'll get out of it, or you could spend hours battling enemies, and then it becomes a time sink all of a sudden, but not necessarily in a negative way. So I have to give it to this game for being immersive because like I just can't pull myself out of it.
I agree. I say this wholeheartedly. The graphics complement the story. They
Mhm.
really do. They offer this complete. I mean, obviously, Paper Mario is about paper, so making it like having this kind of like extension of it, origami, is just hilarious, innovative, and fun. I can't deny that. At the end of the day, I really cannot. Did you find like anything else art wise, music wise that really touched you? Was there something else about I guess just the evolution of the franchise that you want to mention?
So I think that I was really charmed by the game overall. The thing that really touched me about the game was how charming it was, and that includes everything that has to do with like the synergy between the art style and the music. And because so what I thought was so funny is that there were many different genres of music in this game like as you go to different areas, there's like polka music and like country music at one point, and there's like really cool, like what sounded like Chinese instruments in like the Autumn Mountains. And so there's so many different, what should be clashing music genres and music themes. And yet they all worked so well together because they all had their place in the story. So I think what really touched me was how charming the game made every one of its aspects. And then I think just overall, like, you know, as I said before, the gimmick of the game is everything's made of paper. So, like, you can walk around, you can hit rocks, trees, flowers, and collect confetti, which you use to restore the broken parts of the map, and then you're rewarded for that. So I think that that's really cute. That's a fun way to integrate the idea and keep yourself very aware of the fact that, yeah, everything's made of paper. We are very self aware of this. We are going to make this so fun, and we're going to have you make it rain confetti everywhere. And it's going to be an objective for you, and it's going to carry you through the story. So I really, really admired the way that they meshed everything together. There's so much synergy in this game when it comes to graphic style and storytelling. It is done like perfectly, in my opinion.
I think it gets really meta when you go to the woods and then you're like introduced to trees and then you look at them and you're like, it must sucks to be you because everything's made by trees.
Yep.
And I was having that conversation with my head. I'm like, are they real or are they just paper? Because that would be super meta, like a tree, like pretending to be a tree, but it's made out of the components of a tree.
Which, you know, all paper is trees, so technically, they really are just paper, like, you're right, that's a very interesting way to think about it. I felt bad after I saw that the trees were sentient in that forest for hammering at them because I was like, "Oh, no, like, I don't wanna hurt you," but it's funny because, like, in the world, you hammer things to help them, so, like, that's how you save toes, and that's how you unwrinkle them, so it's just very funny how the rules of the world change just because and by virtue of the way of the fact that everything is made of paper. So it keeps you very self aware. They don't let you forget everything is paper. That's the shtick.
I wonder if they do that to kind of make you conscious of the fact that paper is important. You should recycle because if you beat some of the trees, they drop some of the confetti that you then can recycle to heal the earth. And I wonder, I constantly feel like that's a metaphor for something. I don't know. What do you think, Holly?
That's actually a pretty solid point. I never thought about it that way, but this game is definitely a strong contender for things that are good for recycling because, like, the whole game you spend recycling things because you're hitting the environment and then you're recycling that back into the environment. So, like, you're hitting trees, you're hitting rocks, and then you're taking all the confetti that you collected and then you're using it to make the landscape and the map whole again. So, I think it's a really cute way of like, well, because it also forces you to be resourceful. So I think it's a really cute way of
Hmm.
forcing you to be resourceful because you only have so much confetti that you can carry. You have to be very resourceful about how you're using it. You have to make sure that you're always collecting it. So it keeps you mindful of resources, and it helps your problem solving skills throughout the world, because there are some areas that you can only access if you use the confetti to repair the world. And then you get rewarded for repairing the world too. So why not go for the achievements and repair everything? So
I definitely have to ask you, who is your favorite character, and don't say Olivia, in the
mm,
entire series? Because for me, I know you haven't gotten there, but Bob is my favorite character. He's one of the sidekicks that you eventually partner up with later in the future. So you get paired up with you get paired up with 4 sidekicks in the entire series. Bob is one of them. Who's your favorite character?
So
And
I did get up to Bob-omb,
okay.
and, I you're gonna hate me. I love Olivia. Olivia is my favorite character in the whole, like, I think she is absolutely adorable. You might not like her. Every time she talked, so there's no voiceover and there's no voice acting in the game, so I did all of the voices while I was streaming. I know Narz did all of the voices when she was streaming. Every time I got to Olivia's voice lines, I had the most fun, because I felt like, she's definitely an airhead. She's certainly ditzy, but she is painfully optimistic, and she's really sweet, and she's really kind, and the way she thinks her thoughts out loud are very funny, and it makes for really funny dialogue. Especially when I was acting it out, I had the most fun saying her lines, because she would like say something really earnest, and then she would realize how dumb that probably was that she just said that, and then she'd be like, "Oh, well, I'm really sorry." Like, it was really cute. Like, I definitely had the most fun reading her lines, and I connected with her because she was so optimistic, and because she was so honest and open. And yeah, maybe she was kind of annoying sometimes, but I certainly found her very charming. But I know that that's not the case for everybody that played this game.
Definitely wasn't for me. If I had to choose between Navi and Olivia, I will choose Navi every day. I don't
Oh, yeah,
care if she's just like,
no,
"Hey, listen,"
forget
24/7. I will take that.
Mhm.
I just could not take Olivia. At some points, it's like there were times where like she is my guide and she doesn't tell me information that I'd like to know, and which is one of the things that were like painfully about this. It's like, yes, you are supposed to be my guide me, but there's just some things that she doesn't guide. I know that she guides for a lot of things, but there's just certain things that she just doesn't give much information for, or it's just like, just get to the point, Olivia. Stop telling me about how dreamy this place is. Just give me the information I need. I'm in battle right now, bitch. Like,
Oh, but
let's
I think
go.
I think that's so endearing of her though. Like, I think it's really cute. Like, there's a mechanic in the game where if you find a bench, you sit down and it'll restore your full health. And so it's really nice, because it's meant to be like, oh, you're sitting down in a place of reflection and you're just enjoying the scenery. Very Ghost of Tsushima hot springs vibe there, except way fewer butts than what are seen in Ghost of
We need more
Tsushima.
butts in this game.
We need- no, we don't. Please, it's a Mario game. Um, but I just thought it was funny, because I thought she was really cute, because in those moments that you're sitting on the bench, she'll remark about the environment. I thought it was cute when we were in the autumn mountains, and she was like, I wonder why trees get red in the autumn? Oh, do you think it's because they're embarrassed?" And then she's like, "Wait, they're trees. They can't get embarrassed. Now I'm embarrassed." Like, she's so dumb. I love her. She's so dumb. Like, who thinks to say these things? I find her so endearing. I find her so incredibly endearing, but I get it. You probably just want to stop hearing her say things. So she's your guide, like Navi, much like Nars said, and she's supposed to give you hints if you're stuck in the game. You're supposed to press X, and she'll actually point you in the right direction, but that's not always the case. She actually will give you very vague, broad hints sometimes that are very unhelpful. So I can kind of understand where Nars is coming from in that regard, because if I were asking her for a hint and she gave me a very broad answer, I would probably like want to grab her and be like, "Olivia, where do I go?"
I'm just imagining like checking it out. Now I know that if I ever have to give you a gift, I'll give you a little Olivia doll as a
That
gift.
would be so cute.
Or maybe I'll do like Olivia origami. I mean, I've been practicing.
I was gonna say we've proven that you're quite good at origami. So if you ever want to make me an Olivia origami, like, I would be totally happy.
I'll definitely tell you a story about that later, but I definitely let's move on to the pacing of the story of the game. Personally, I think it's neither fast or slow, and I think we both agree on that it kind of really depends on your play style. So if you're a
Right.
perfectionist, you're going to be able to like have your way, 100% it, go ahead. good luck. There's radars and stuff that you can use to find all the toads, all the question mark blocks, all the what else? Oh, fill all the holes. There's a lot that you need to do. So good luck with
There
that.
is, yeah.
There is definitely a reward at the end. There's a secret ending that I have yet to see a YouTube video for, so we can't really show it. But there is a secret ending for those who 100% it. So good luck with that.
I definitely felt like the story progresses at a reasonable pace, so, like, I had 0 complaints there. I mean, you're pretty much, like, saving Peach, you're saving all the toads, and you're saving her castle, which is not an easy task, so it makes you travel to a lot of different locations and different corners of the kingdom so that you can unravel the streamers that are keeping the castle hostage, and so you go to different, parts of the map, like, you go to different areas that have different characteristics about them, and there are usually different secrets in those different map locations to find that are unique to that map, which are very charming in my opinion. So I definitely think that each area has its own personality. It has its own bosses to conquer. Um, Understanding what was expected of me, how to move the story forward was at times confusing though. Like I will admit, like the pacing of the story is good, but I feel like it wasn't always clear to me what I was meant to do or in which direction I was supposed to go. And I understand that this is not clearly this is not an open world, and it's an RPG, and you definitely have to figure things out for yourselves. But there was one particular part of the story, like right in the beginning, where I was at the Earth Velumental Temple, and I knew that I had to find those little orbs in order to open the seal to get into the Earth Velumental Temple. But it wasn't made clear that I could find all of those orbs in that area. I thought that those were things I would find throughout the game as the game progressed, and like in different areas and different map locations. And so I was stuck for quite a long time because I didn't realize that I could have just looked in the vicinity of the temple to try and find all of the seals that were keeping the door closed. So I definitely feel like the game doesn't always do a great job of letting you know what's expected of you, even with the hints system. Because, as I said before, you can press X to ask Olivia for hints, but she's not always very helpful, and she's often vague with her hints. So, that's something that I definitely felt like could have been done better. This is the second week in a row that we've done a game that has like non-traditional waypoints or non-traditional ways of letting you know where you need to go. Like Ghost of Tsushima, it was the wind. So in this one, it's like you pretty much just have to figure out using context clues in the dialogue that you hear, or from Olivia telling you, like, hey, what did you think about the side of that rock over there? That looked kind of suspicious, huh? But it's very like vague in my
Mhm.
opinion. So yeah, the objectives aren't always clear, but that is why I said before, this is very much a game for the observant. So if you're an observant person, this is the game for you. I clearly am not. I clearly lack the skill um to figure out what's wrong in the environment. Apparently, I always thought I was an observant person. This game clearly proved that I'm not, because I miss so much stuff. How did you feel about how did you feel about objectives, and like did you always feel like you knew what was expected of you when you were moving the game forward?
I feel like this game really challenges you in the sense that you have to be really mindful of everything in the game. Like you really need to like every single nook, every single cranny, every single tree, every single brush. You have to hit, pull, slam, bam, wham, damn to find out if there's something underneath it, either a toad or a coin or like a hint or whatever. Like any, I'm just gonna give you a hint. Any bug you see in the world, just hit it. It doesn't matter if it's a bug, a flower, or dog. Just hit it, hit everything. Pretty much just like the if you the object of the game, the entire game is to hit everything. That's literally it. Paper Mario in the Rap. Okay. Review over. That's it.
That's it. That's the game. Just literally, as I said before, when in doubt, hammer it out. Just if you're not sure, just whack it with a hammer, and there's probably a toad folded up in there, and then he'll like give you a bunch of coins. So,
Yeah. Speaking of hammers, obviously the gameplay mechanics, the battle system of this
uh,
game was new to both myself and Holly. Holly, I really want to get your take on it because it's different from the original Paper Mario franchise. What were your thoughts about the battle systems and how to fight the enemies in this game?
oh boy. Okay, I was waiting for this segment. All right, let's talk about the battle system, because I have a very love hate relationship with the battle system in this game. When I first encountered the battle system, my thoughts were, oh, this is unique and this is pretty interesting. Like, I would be willing to learn how this works and to play this out because that's pretty cool. Um, I don't know. I do believe we have a lot of footage of how the battle system works in this game. For those of you who haven't played this game, it's on a grid, and you basically have to solve puzzles to line the enemies up in ways that will maximize your ability to hit all of them in one turn. So it's like, you're standing in the middle, and there's rings that go outwards, and then you can arrange the rings either by moving people in a circle, or you can move them going forwards or away from you. And this can get very complicated based on the different ways that the enemies are organized when they show up. There's always a way to make all of your enemies line up perfectly. And then if there's a few stragglers, you can get them with items. But there's always a way, and this is a timed puzzle. So this is a very unique way of trying to fight enemies. But while I thought it was interesting and unique and fun at the beginning, quickly grew very tired of the way that this plays out. I don't know if we can get some gameplay going in the background here while we kind of explain. But Nars, walk me through your experience as you're playing this particular part of the game. You're trying to fight enemies, and you're trying to figure out the grid system puzzles just so you can get hits on enemies.
Well, I definitely want to first talk about the buddies that fight along the way with you. The first one that you come across is Bob. I don't know how to say his name. Bob, but we have a Bob buddy battle video link that we want to show you guys. Eventually, as you go traverse through the world, you come across different sidekicks that fight with you. And the idea is that they not only are sidekicks that fight with you, but they also add other elements to the game as well. So with Bob, he's obviously a critical component in one part of the whole entire campaign story that you're going to find out later. But there is definitely a component in the in for Bob where he can be able to fight with you. And then there's other characters who will shovel dirt for you, in which you can get gold. They also will be able to read a language that you cannot necessarily see or read yourself in the desert mode. The professor is one of the sidekicks. And I think it's really interesting because this was kind of done with Paper Mario, where you come across different characters, different sidekicks, and you can be able to fight with them or they fight with you, but they don't fight with you the entire way, and you don't necessarily switch them out. They just kind of like show up in this story, and then they show up in the story, and then they kind of like disappear, or they go on their own way or whatnot, as you kind of like end that particular world with them, because there's different worlds. And I think it's really cool that they do have this kind of dynamic where you have these buddies along that fight along with you, and it adds another element to it because I'm just gonna be really frank. The battle system frustrates me in the sense that you need to be able to be quick, and you have to be quick in this game. It's every single battle is a time. It's a time mechanic, so you have to align the enemies either in 4 squares in front of you or in a single line. If they're in a
Mhm.
single line, you can jump on them, but you can't hammer them because the hammer one is for the 4 right in front of you. So every single battle is a puzzle, and you have to figure it out within between 30 to 60 seconds. And as you can see here, it can be pretty crazy because you can either rotate it circles or be able to shift it alongside in the side. It took me a while to get these mechanics, obviously, and then having a sidekick adds another element to it. There's another element as well where you can pay, or you can cheer the audience coins to be able to help you in the match. And we have a video for that much later in the day, in the show. And it's pretty interesting because if you give the audience 500 coins, they'll solve half of the puzzle for you. They'll give you items and they'll give you hearts. But if you spend 1,000 coins, they literally will solve the entire puzzle for you. And all you have to do is actually beat the boss, I guess you can say. So pretty much it's like EA, but like on the portable device. You have to pay to play.
Microtransactions.
Microtransactions. That's what I felt anyways. And so I was like royally frustrated with this game because I couldn't figure out it made me feel stupid. This game made me feel really freaking
Oh.
stupid. Okay, I don't like being told I'm dumb because like if this is supposed to be for children and I can't figure it out, we have problems, yo. Like we have problems.
That's so funny. That's something I pointed out too. There are so many moments where there were like secrets or puzzles that I was like, "Oh, I'm having a lot of trouble," or like there before I finally got the hang of the battle system, I was dying a lot, and my chat, thank God they were so patient and they were willing to like be like, "Hey, you should probably use this for that or whatever." And I slowly got into the hang of it and I finally learned it. But I mentioned to my chat, I was like, wait a minute. Like, I realize adults and children play Nintendo games, right? However, um, reasonably, this game is right. Like, it's technically a kids game. Are we going to call it a kids game? I don't like calling Nintendo games kids
I don't
games because
really like to
everybody plays
either.
them. But you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of kids definitely gravitate towards Nintendo games, and there's definitely a lot of kids that will be playing Paper Mario. I have little cousins that love any Mario game they can get their hands on. So Nintendo keeps this in mind. And so I'm sure they try to make it as accessible for kids as they can. So I'm thinking to myself, if they really are doing this with the kids in mind and I can't figure it out, then that's probably an issue. But I definitely felt very challenged by the battle system. And after a certain point, it wasn't that I was feeling challenged. So when I was first learning the battle system, I was feeling challenged because it is a puzzle, it's a timed puzzle. There are items that you can equip and accessories that you can equip that will give you extra time, or you can purchase extra time from the audience members, or you can purchase, like, extra time on the clock while you're trying to solve the puzzles. But it's a very quick thing to try and learn, and it's a fun way to challenge yourself. But after you kind of get the hang of it and after you do it so many times, it really becomes very tedious work. I definitely did not it's fun for the first 20 times, and then every time after that I actually found myself like trying to run away from enemies because
Mhm.
I just was like, I really just don't want to deal with this right now. Like, I just want to go explore more of the world. I don't want to have to keep doing the same battle system. And there is a flee mechanic. I wrote in ROS in all caps in bold. I just found out you can flee from battles? Question mark, question mark, question mark. My camera feed was blocking that side of my screen. I had no idea. That's a true story. When I streamed this game, I kept myself on the bottom right hand of my screen, which meant that I couldn't see that part. So I couldn't see that you could flee battles. I had no idea. So, but I learned also that flee doesn't always work. So it's just a tedious, unfortunate thing that you have to go through when you're playing this game, and I just, like, got really sick of it really fast.
Yeah, I think that's another component to it as well. When you fight the bosses, the entire gameplay mechanics change as well.
Mhm.
I just want to show this Earth Venemental boss battle that's really interesting. Just because, there's two different bosses that you'll fight. You'll fight the Venemental bosses, which will give you the powers to be able to do something in a magic circle to progress in the game, and then you will fight the Streamer bosses, which are actually the streamers that are holding Peach's capsule hostage and you're trying to get to that. So you have to go through all five of these streamers in addition to all five of these Venementals to get to these streamers. Now, this boss battle is frustrating. I just want to maximize this and show you guys. I want to show you this because I know you're going to eventually see this eventually. But so this boss battle requires you to not only be able to solve the puzzle, you have to avoid the locations in which this pencil, yes, you're fighting a pencil case, or like it's a colored pencil
That's
case
the
you're
second
fighting.
boss battle, yeah. I
Yeah.
I did not like this boss battle. I thought this boss was
This
trash.
is so
I hated this
frustrating.
boss
You
battle.
have to get behind it, but you have to make sure that you walk over the on button that you see on the actual game. It's like a game board. You have
Yeah.
to literally use the arrows to force Mario to walk over certain things to try to get to the center. But in this boss, you have to get behind him, make sure that you've pressed the on button, and then land the Venemental, which is the hand Venemental, or the power beam, to be able to like land on it behind the pencil case or slightly angled in order to close it shut to do damage to it. If you don't do that, you're literally going to die. You're literally going to die because this game is not, it does not make it easy for you, and it's definitely not going to be cute because you're going to be pile drived with a bunch of different colored pencils. So good luck with that. You'll be tattooed by the end of the actual round.
Yes.
And I find myself using the coins more than not because, like, you can pay coins to extend the amount of time because you can't see it because Holly's face is in it right now. But
I'm
you can
sorry.
pay. No, mine's now is like blocking it too. But there's a timer, and you literally have like 60 seconds or however many seconds to solve this puzzle and figure this out. There we go. So you see, it's like 62 seconds, 61 seconds. And it's like it makes you feel so dumb. You have to solve this quickly, and if you fail, you die. And if you don't do it right, you die. So obviously here, I screwed up really badly. I got hit, and I was just like, well, gosh darn it, screw me. And then obviously, if you don't angle yourself right so that you can be able to attack, you're royally screwed. So in this case, I really did screw myself. But I was just trying to figure it out. Like these and each boss battle is different. They're not
Mhm.
the same, and they won't be the same because Nintendo wants to screw with you. Hardcore.
So I think it's interesting. So if you were looking at that grid system, so obviously it changes. So when you're fighting normal enemies, Mario is the one in the center of the grid, and you work your way outwards. For the boss battles, you start on the outer edge of the circle, and you have to force your way inwards. And the way it works is that you have to position yourself over these little tiles that have arrows on them, and it's very, very, very tricky because those arrows will take you in that direction until you hit another arrow. So you have to be so strategic about how you choose to move around the board because eventually you have to bring yourself to the very center so that you can actually land on an action button just to make sure, because you can get yourself to the center of the circle. That's half the battle. You then have to make sure you've landed on an action button so you can even do damage to the boss. So there's a lot of different things that you can pick up along the way. You can pick up extra health. You can pick up a chest with a special item inside that'll add extra coins. You can pick up coins, or you can pick up these little envelopes with question marks on them, which will actually give you hints about what to do for dealing damage to the boss. So when I was playing that boss fight that you're seeing right now, which is with the colored pencils, I wasn't sure what the best way of attacking the boss was. So I made sure to maneuver myself around the board so that I hit over an envelope with a question mark on it. So that's a hint envelope. And it told me like you have to go to behind the boss and then you have to hit it with your hammer so that the lid will close and it will damage itself with its own missile attacks. And I was like, oh, great. I never would have known that had I not moused over this thing. So you have to be, but then again, like you only have so many moves that you can make around the map too. So you have to be so strategic about how you're moving around the grid and like making sure that every move counts before you even get to the boss to do damage. So it's a very, very tedious process. And unfortunately, I got very tired of it very quickly. I am all for a good strategic battle and I am all for a good puzzle. But it gets very repetitive because you essentially, once you figure out the gimmick for attacking the boss, you have to pretty much do the same thing unless there's a boss phase change or unless you get the boss down to 0 HP, which could take a while depending on how successful you are at solving the different combinations of items on the grid system as you're making your way towards the boss. So I definitely did not like the boss battles whatsoever. Like I said before, all for a good strategy, all for a good puzzle, but this just definitely made me feel less inclined to continue playing. I powered through it. But I just remember like I fought that pencil case boss last night at like 3:30, and I'm an idiot that was like, oh, I'll play one more, I'll play like 10 more minutes and then I'll go to bed. But then like I ended up having to fight this boss. And I'm just thinking to myself, the thing keeping me from sleep right now is this boss battle. And I do not have the patience for this. But I did it and it's over and I never have to do it again. But man, that boss battle really irritated me a lot. So I did not care for the boss battle system in the game. It's an interesting, unique way of doing it, but I just, no, thank you. Not for me.
I did figure out. So I'm gonna give you guys Narz's ultimate cheat because this literally saved me. Like if you can zoom into my face, like literally, I was just like I had a aha moment. So if you're playing this game and you're frustrated that you have to constantly pay coins to extend the time meter, I'm gonna teach you this super super trick. I call it the Narz ultimate cheat trick.
Oh boy.
You ready for
Is it
this?
legal? Is it legal,
Huh?
Nars? Nars, is
It
it legal?
it's 100% legal because Nintendo put it
Okay.
in there, okay? They put it in there
Okay.
for this moment right here. If you press the hint button, which is the Y button in the game, Olivia comes up and tries to give you a hint. Don't listen to her. That's not the actual cheat. The cheat is you keep her there and it pauses the whole game. Look at this. I'm literally pausing this game right now and I can study it before I actually execute any sort of action. And this
Oh,
is literally what's going to save you so much bank. You can literally press the X button and leave the hint button, and you can literally just sit here and look at the map and figure out a way to solve the puzzle without
okay.
spending a single coin. So you're welcome, chat. I help you cheat. And it was 100% free.
100% farm raised, farm fresh, organic cheats right here. You heard it first. On GG with Narz. Wow, that's a really great point, actually. I mean, so I feel like the game tries to be forgiving where they can, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't allow you to do things like that. And so when you're fighting the enemies in the grid system, there's also a moment right before it shuffles the board where they show you the configuration that they should be in for like the maximum. So like when you're configuring your enemies to make sure that they're in the right lineup on the board, if you do a perfect lineup, you get a bonus and you do 1.5 times the damage, which can be the deciding factor between you taking damage in a fight or not. Because some enemies you can actually take down if you hit them in one perfect hit with 1.5 times damage. So the game doesn't want you to not know where the perfect formations are. They show you, but then they shuffle the board around. And you have to have really quick memory to remember exactly which rings moved where and exactly which formations the enemies were in. And, it's timed. There's accessories that you can have that can add time to the board. But like for me, there were a lot of moments when I was streaming where I would look at the board. And even when I tried to work things out myself, I was like, oh, there's actually not a good way to do this. And that is the reality of it sometimes. There isn't always a way for you to perfectly line
Mhm.
up the enemies, but that's what you have items for. So you always have to make sure that you keep yourself stocked up on fire flowers and other items that could potentially help you take care of wayward enemies because there won't always be a perfect formation for everything, unfortunately.
And make sure you equip all your accessories. They add more guard, damage, and health before a round, and you can equip up to 4 to 5 of them. And you can only get them in the actual item or the talents to be able to do it. So very always be prepared when you're going to battle. Absolutely.
Yes, and so the thing, that sort of incentivizes you in the game for saving the toads because, you're trying to save the kingdom, there are little toads that you'll find everywhere that you save, they've been folded up, they've been turned into butterflies, they've been turned into dogs, they're smashed up into holes in the wall, you have to save them, and the thing that kind of incentivizes you to trying to find as many of those toads as possible is if you save a toad that's actually a shopkeeper, you can then go back to wherever their shop is. There's a toad shopkeeper in Toad Town, there's a ton of them, there's some by the Earth Elemental Temple. There's a ton of different areas. And so if you save those toads, it actually grants you access to purchase from their inventory, which is huge. It's crucial because that way you can actually buy extra fire flowers, extra mushrooms, extra shiny boots, extra boots that can help you attack enemies. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're doing the most in the area to save as many toads as you can because you never know who that toad you're saving might be and whether they actually will grant you access to a part of the map that is going to actually help you on your adventure. So I had a lot of fun learning like what all of the different accessories and items were good for which enemies in the game. It's not always very straightforward. It's quite trial and error. You have to kind of learn that, for spiky shell enemies, you have to use, the iron boots because they'll protect you. But, all of the items also have durability. So if you use them too much, you lose them and then you have to buy more. So you have to be very strategic about how you're spending your coins. You have to be strategic about what items you're buying. Nars, like, how did you feel about, the presence of coins in the game and like having to buy all these items and being strategic about what you're spending your money on? I know you have thoughts on this.
So I will say 1000%. I know we're jumping the gun here, but you can be able to switch your confetti to cherry blossoms. You just need to pay, I think, like 8,000 to 10,000 coins.
Where?
And this literally transformed the game for me. Like, I was like, I am filling all the holes in the world up. But we have a video of it so
Ow!
you guys can check it out. Yes, I know, girl. I know. You're gonna see how pretty this is. I'm gonna definitely show you right now. We have a link of it in
I
the
need to know immediately.
ROS.
I need to know I'm sorry. This is quite on brand, and I need to know.
So there is a picture of it. We have a video for it, but you can definitely in the Shogun Studios, you can upgrade your confetti bag to transform into a cherry blossom bag. And so then when you start throwing confetti to fill all the holes in the world, they change into cherry blossoms. And it makes it so pretty. And then you actually enjoy doing this. Look at how pretty this is. Look at
That's
the
so
cherry blossoms. You get it in the Shogun Studios. You have to go to the accessories to be able to get it. And it's just so adorable. I feel like every single time I use it, I try to fill up all the holes in the world, but it makes it so pretty now. Look how pretty that is.
that's
It
so
definitely
nice.
costs a
Oh.
lot of money. It costs about like 8,000 to 10,000 gold coins. You get it in Shogun Studios, but it's so worth it. So yes, I hoard all my coins because you never know what you will find in this game. You can find radars to help you find the toads or the box question mark boxes that are in the game, and sometimes they offer like free items or even accessories and stuff like that. There's so much little like little nooks and things that you'll find. There's a Samus head. I have a video of that. We'll show you guys that later. But there's Easter eggs in there that make it super cute and really actually really nostalgic. It's actually really like there's a lot of things to it that you find as an old school Nintendo fan or even a new school fan.
Not to say that I don't love the confetti too, because I thought the whole confetti aspect was absolutely adorable. Like I definitely I Googled like if there were any party stores open so I could potentially bring some confetti to throw everywhere in the middle of the stream. But I also am mindful that Brandon has to clean up the studio after I go home, and I don't want to give him extra work of having to vacuum up confetti when I'm gone. But the concept of turning it into cherry blossoms, I will definitely be spending my money on that. It's funny because Narz warned me before I started playing the game that there was an item in the game at the beginning, like when you're trying to find all of the things to open the Earth Elemental Temple, you needed to spend 10,000 coins on one of the seeds because this guy is on one of the orbs because this guy is selling it. He's auctioning it off for 10,000. And she was like, just warning you, you're going to need at least this much money in order to buy this off of this guy. So I was like, wow, okay. So I kept trying to do everything I could possibly in order to like save as many coins as I could, and now I've become quite a hoarder. And I don't even actually like using a lot of my coins in battles either. I prefer to. I know we're different on this, Nars. I know you like to use the coins. I like to challenge myself to solve the puzzles first before I resort to the coins. If things are looking rough, I will pay the money. I will pay 1,000 if things are looking rough. I'll be like, I'm so sorry. Please give me all my health back. I can't do this.
I spend the coins. I'm sorry. But like you said before, I cannot be bothered sometimes to solve a puzzle. I'll just pay the toads to do it. That's why they're there. That's why we're freeing them. They're here to work for me. So work for me, toads. Minions! Work for me.
Oh my god. I literally I just okay, so I have to talk about this. So we're talking about the coins for a second here. I definitely would like to loop back because we were still technically on the battle system. So I feel like for me, they don't incentivize you enough for the battle system. So obviously, battling is a great way to earn coins because you earn bonus coins if you solve the puzzles or if you defeat the enemies in a certain number of hits or if you do other things in the battle that will get you bonuses. And so it's a great way to earn coins. However, as I said before, items have durability. And so if you use them up and you lose them, you no longer have access to them unless you buy other items of that type. And so I actually found myself avoiding certain enemy fights because I was like, wait, the only thing reasonably that's going to happen if I fight this enemy is that I'm going to lose item durability. I'll probably get a couple of coins and I'll probably get some confetti. However, when you're in the area, you can when you're in an environment in the game, you can pretty much get however much confetti you want. If you just hit a tree endlessly, you can collect a full bag of confetti in no time. And if you're repairing parts of the map with the confetti, you will actually be rewarded with coins. And some toads will actually reward you with coins when you save them. And there are a bunch of other things that you can do to get coins as well, like if you find random coins in the environment. So it's actually not totally necessary for you to engage in any of the battles. And so the reason why I definitely don't like the battle system so much is because they don't incentivize you with anything to make you want to engage in these battles other than pretty much losing item durability, which I have a big problem with. So as you complete objectives in the game and you progress the story forward, you can actually increase Mario's strength and you'll increase his HP. Like after you can defeat the Earth Elemental in the first area of the map, you actually get an XP, like an HP bonus, and you increase your maximum health, you increase your maximum confetti storage. So these are things that I would have loved to see as like Final Fantasy style. Like the more you battle in the environment, the more levels you gain and the stronger you get. That would have been something that I would have loved to see, especially because this game is technically an RPG. I want to see more honest RPG elements. Like in Final Fantasy, nobody likes to grind in Final Fantasy, but it's kind of the truth of playing a Final Fantasy game. The more enemies you engage in a fight with, they'll incentivize you. They'll give you XP, they'll give you bonuses, they'll give you stats, and they'll give you buffs. That is what I would have loved to see. If I fight enough enemies, I would love to see Mario's strength increase, or Mario gain levels to increasing the durability of certain items. Like, hey, if I fight this many enemies, like my shiny boots will last longer, or something like that. I just think that there's not a lot that incentivizes you to engage in the very tedious battle systems already. So that's kind of a big problem that I had with this game. So
I agree in the sense that like the items do break after a while. The game offers an opportunity where if you want to pay the toads in a match, sometimes if you spend more than 500 coins in the game, they sometimes throw you a pair of shoes or a hammer and a health. They also sometimes attack the enemies and obviously solve most of the puzzles for you. So it comes back to reward you in spending gold coins in some of the battle matches, and then you'll make some of that money back because if you go through a wave battle, which is consecutive amount of waves of enemies, you end up
mhm,
making 1,000 gold back. So
right.
the offset is you do get money back having spent it, and you get to go through that boss battle quicker. If you get to a point where you're high enough of a level, which means you have high enough HP, you can literally attack certain enemies like in the world before you get to a battle and literally like one shot kill them. So if you use your hammer on like Goombas, I think that's the lowest form. That's what you fight off first. If you hit a Goomba with your hammer in like the world, you don't even have to go into an actual like battle with it. You actually kill it right then and there. And as you progressively level, you can completely avoid battles by increasing your HP. And that's by finding hearts all over the map, which increases your max HP health, which also increases how strong you are in the game. And then you can completely avoid like all of the all of like the minions and stuff on the map.
Right, exactly. So, like, obviously, they incentivize you with coins, but like when you really think about it, what are you spending coins on? You're spending coins on items for battles. So it becomes a very vicious cycle and a strange loop that I definitely just it doesn't make sense to me conceptually. I think that it's easy for you to get trapped in the cycle of thinking that you have to engage with every enemy that you come across. You don't. I got a little stuck in this before I realized, wait a minute, why am when I really thought about it, I was like, why am I engaging with every single enemy that I come across? There's no reason that I should have to do this because there's actually no real reward in my eyes that is incentivizing me to engage in all of these enemy battles. So I will basically engage in the enemy battles that I must, but I will, for the most part, actually avoid a lot of battles or try to flee because if I don't see it as being a useful way of utilizing my resources, I'm not going to go for it. Obviously, you can't avoid boss battles, and I actually find the boss battles like they're definitely more annoying, but they're a little bit more engaging, I guess you could say. It's very easy to kind of become a little mind numbed when you're playing the regular wave battles. So I just like that was a big drawback for me is just how tedious and seemingly useless a lot of the enemy fights are in the game. It just doesn't they didn't do enough to make me feel like they were very important. That's just how
There
I felt.
are moments though throughout the game. Yes, there's the battles can be kind of like excruciating, but there are little Easter eggs that happen. I think there are little things that you see here and there. There's one thing that I saw in this game. It's called the coffee shop, So there are like these little places in the actual world. You have to go searching for them, unfortunately. And sometimes you'll find like little Easter eggs in it as well. Sometimes they'll be I guess paying homage to other Nintendo characters. But in this case, it's literally just a nice quiet time to just have a cup of coffee. And I think this is interesting because they offer you a different perspective of the game. In this particular game, the enemy is the origami. So anything that you've seen that is an origami shaped or like not 2D is an enemy. And then you sometimes see Mario actually fellowship with his, I guess, his former rivals. So in this case, it was a Goomba and a Koopa at a coffee shop. And it does offer like this little change of pace, which I think is really, really cool, considering that you're constantly solving puzzles and you're constantly like hating yourself because you're probably not on par to the level of a kid who's able to like just go through this. But we have a video that I really wanted to show of this little coffee shop, and there are more Easter eggs that I was able to find. I just think that this one was a little bit cute because you have this conversation with Mario talking to the Koopas and the Goombas that were really, really cute and calming. And I think that adds a dynamic to the entire game. But I guess I mean if you want to show the video or not, I don't mind. But I think this is cool. It is a change of pace. I really like the fact, and this you have to find. Like it's one of those Easter eggs that you have. There's a hole that you have to fill, and you literally just get a cup of coffee. It's like an entire scene where it's just really absolutely freaking cute. And I love the fact that they did this kind of thing, just like a change of pace that pays homage. I don't know if this is a scene from a movie, but it's definitely really interesting. It's like kind of psychological. They're arguing against each other of like who's the better villain while Mario's having a cup of coffee. And that's really much it. I just like that was really, really cute.
This reminds me of a video game. I can't exactly remember what the name of the game was, but there is a video game where you actually, it's like an RPG in a way, where you actually serve coffee to people and you talk to them and you solve their problems. I'm gonna have to like Google it to actually remember what the name of the game is, but like this totally reminds me of this. Like you're sitting in the coffee shop atmosphere and you're just interacting with the characters, enjoying a cup of coffee, and you're watching their conversations with each other. You're interacting with them as well. And it's like a very fun little intimate experience. And that's kind of the vibe I just got from that clip. Like that's a very
Mhm.
fun, interesting little Easter egg there.
Yeah. There's two other Easter eggs. One where you see Donkey Kong and Samus appear as well, which is pretty cool. Like to considering that this is supposed to be like origami, you have like Samus and Donkey Kong, and it's really funny how it's like Donkey Kong is having this surreal moment where he's like, "This character seems very familiar. I think I've seen him before." And then you see like Olivia, and in this case it was Bob, try to figure out who exactly it is. And I think like these little moments add to the game itself, as well as you know. If you're a fan of like previous Nintendo franchises, you'll see that it comes up. And I was like, I thought that was
That's
really
so
cute that they
cute.
did that, considering.
That's really cute. Oh man, I love, Nintendo is really good for Easter eggs. I will say this. They had a lot of they're good for secrets, they're good for Easter eggs because they realize that their fans are willing to go look for them. Nintendo fans are extremely dedicated. I'm always very impressed to see all of the Easter eggs that Nintendo fans are willing to go and 100% a game just to find, or what they're willing to go through just to get all of the collectibles. And I think that, this is a very silly, goofy game overall. Like I mentioned several times before, it's quite self aware. The dialogue is absolutely hilarious. I realize that to some people it's corny, it's dumb, whatever. I find that completely hilarious. And it's a very silly game, very self-aware. So I think, the Easter eggs of Donkey Kong, of Samus, of previous Nintendo IPs like making an appearance, it just falls perfectly in line with the whole vibe of the game. And I just find it adorable.
I couldn't agree more, and I think it's a testimony of Nintendo's little quirkiness that happens every once in a while. And it's funny how like they put Samus in there, and it's like this is another big M, just like you, Big Mario, and it's like you mean like Metroid? Hello? Yeah, I see you. I see what you did there.
I see you, Nintendo, and I see what you're doing. So, all right, I have to ask. So, like we've talked a little bit about, the battle mechanics, the game mechanics, whatever. How easy do you think this game is to pick up? This is a big question because there's a lot of people that are suddenly getting into gaming now with everything going on. And is this game, you know, going to welcome new gamers with open arms? Like, how confident do you think people could? How confidently do you think people could pick this game up?
If you're thinking this is going to be like a previous Paper Mario, it's not. The battle mechanics are entirely different, just as we have shown you
And if you're thinking it's going to be another turn-based RPG mechanic like Final Fantasy, you're going to be completely wrong. It definitely pushes the frontier when it tries to get you to think more. But if you're new to the entire Paper Mario franchise, I think this is still something you should give a shot. Considering if you are like, I have nothing better to do, I have a Switch, I have this money, I want to play a Paper Mario game, Origami King is going to be pretty much one of the, in my opinion, I think it's one of the funniest Paper Marios. Yes, I said that. Considering Olivia is completely ditzy and airheaded, and she's
And I
kind of
love
annoying
her.
sometimes. I know you love her. I know you love her. It's definitely going to be one of those games you have to pick up. It's up there with like Animal Crossing, in my opinion. It's definitely innovative. It's definitely cute. It's cuddly. It's going to make you think. So if you're looking for something to play right now, and you're kind of like Animal Crossing out, this is definitely going to be something for the new Paper Mario and old Paper Mario fans, in my opinion.
So I agree with you. I think this game acted as like a perfect palate cleanser. We've been playing a lot of story intensive games, a lot of battle royales, a lot of, very intense games that really force you to like be in the moment and think. And in the middle of all those games, I was playing games like Animal Crossing to sort of cleanse my palate because I was like, you can't keep your brain on 100 all the time. Like it becomes very mentally exhausting. And so to finally get to play this game, I was really happy because it really felt like a lighthearted and joyful thing. So I definitely think that people should pick it up just for that alone. In terms of how easy this game is to pick up, though, I kind of have a contradicting opinion on that. I think that if you've played other Paper Mario games before, this will be a breeze to pick up because there are spiritually a lot of things about this game that are very similar to previous Paper Mario games. There will be a bit of a learning curve, however, for people who are unfamiliar with the Paper Mario franchise and universe, much like myself. And so there were a lot of things that I had to learn. And I keep saying this, but like, thank God I had people in my chat that were willing to walk me through that. You won't always have that, but there were people that were willing to walk me through that. One of my followers joked in chat when I didn't realize that I was basically supposed to like hit everything that was suspicious with a hammer to figure out what the secret was. He was like, "Oh, I mean, it's pretty clear that you've never played a Paper Mario game before." And I was like, "Yeah, painfully obvious because I don't have the same instincts that Paper Mario players have." So, I also find that the combat system could be very tricky to learn if you're not immediately familiar with it. So, I finally started getting the hang of it, but it's definitely a trial and error. And if you're someone that's new to it and you don't really want to spend the time thinking about what the best way to deal with different enemies is, it could easily turn you off. So, boss battles are even worse because, I personally find them to be tedious and irritating. So, if you're a fan of strategy and puzzles and tedious little things like that, it's perfect for you. But I could certainly see boss fights, enemy fights, other components of this game being a big turnoff for people who kind of just want to zen out with a cute little lighthearted game for a while. Like I feel like they would probably get pulled out of the experience if they had to think too long about the grid system for battles. So that's my personal opinion on the how easy the game is to pick up thing. So
So considering all that, what would be something that you want to see improved in the game?
the thing that I would love to see improved in the game, I feel like this is kind of hard because the game really does do a great way of easing you in tutorial wise. There are a lot of things in the game or abilities in the game that you can't even access. And there are even settings in the settings menu that you can't even access before that particular component in the game has been introduced through the tutorial, which lasts forever. The tutorial, I would argue, lasts for hours. I just feel like they need to do a better job of easing people into the grid system. And I feel like they could have just made it. I don't want to say they could have made it less complicated because that sounds like I'm trying to cop out of trying to solve a puzzle. I just definitely feel like there were ways for them to not make the boss battles so repetitive and so tedious. There's, I just I definitely feel like there's a way for them to just make the boss battles a little bit more dynamic than just moving some grid spaces around. Just make me feel like I'm more engaged and more involved in it than just literally moving circles counterclockwise or clockwise. Like that's just it became very boring for me very fast. So I think that would have been a more engaging way to get me like interested in the boss battles. Like what do you think they could have done better in
I
that
think
regard.
they should have gotten rid of the timers, but I found an easy way around that, so it's whatever. But I do agree if you're playing this game for the first time and you're playing the battle mechanics, it can seem a bit tedious. You have every single fight that you get in is going to be a puzzle that you have to figure out. There are times where you can be able to like literally avoid some of these combats, and you don't necessarily get experience for the combat either. You get coins, so is it worth even getting into these battles? Is it worth going through some of these puzzles? It depends on if you're a puzzle type of person. If you really love puzzles, this is definitely going to be for you. You have to solve the puzzles. Every single fight is a puzzle within a certain amount of time. You literally get 30 seconds to a minute to figure out. You can increase that time with the coins that you have. But if you're broke, you can just use the hint cheat that we said before, which is totally easy. I think I would have preferred the old school Paper Mario, turn-based RPG mechanics when it comes to fighting. This was an interesting step for them for sure. Was it done, poorly? I don't think so. I just think it's someone else's taste. I think it's someone else's, bread and butter. Whereas for me, I would have totally would prefer to not have done puzzles at all. But it's a puzzle game at the
I
end of the
think
day.
you make a great point that it's not exactly to our taste, but it's definitely to someone's taste. And I think it's important to remember that these games have been like this for some time, and that these games are appealing to a very specific type of gamer that enjoys a very specific type of puzzle and strategy experience that may not exactly be. Um, catered to in other games that are on the market right now. Because I have to be honest with you, one of the things that really struck me about this game was exactly how unique the fighting system was and how unique the story progressed in the game. And I realized that there aren't a lot of games, or if there are any games at all, that are doing things similar to this. If I'm wrong, please let me know. So I feel like it's also important to make sure that we're catering to the same type of people that really enjoy playing, the strategy type games, the puzzle solving type games. I myself love solving puzzles, and I love puzzles in game. That's one of the reasons why Resident Evil, the original games, are some of my favorite games ever, because the puzzle solving element to them, they're a survival horror game, but you're solving puzzles and you're not just, pointing and shooting at enemies to get your way through the story. You're actually thinking and using your brain and context clues to try and make sense of what your surroundings are, which is, of course, something that I really value in a game. So that's what I really appreciated here. I feel like there's a way to strike a balance between doing that and also making it feel like very tedious and very useless. Like I said before, if they just incentivized these battles in some way, if they gave you a reason to level up, like a la Final Fantasy. I'm not saying all RPGs have to run on the same vein like that, and I'm not saying all RPGs need to be exactly the same. I just feel like they need something that makes you feel like putting in all of that effort is worth it, because that also plays into the idea of whether a game feels rewarding, which can become a very tricky conversation in and of itself. So I just think that, I love a good puzzle, but the way that the puzzles are laid out in this game are not exactly to my taste, but they are to somebody's taste, and we have to respect them for that. So that's what I have to
Now,
say.
so now we get to the point to this show where we talk about what did the press say. I know that you had some very argumentative points to make. Considering that this has been out for a while, we do have a lot of press talking about this game, both in a good and in a bad take, which is surprising, right?
Right. It is. Because, it's a Mario game. So you kind of almost in a way expect for all of the press to just kind of be kissing its ass, because, it's a Mario game. Like Nintendo, they said this on Super Late a couple of weeks ago, that Nintendo doesn't miss. I don't agree with that. I think Nintendo has the same ability to miss as anybody else, but Nintendo often does things in a way that just makes you feel fulfilled in what they do. But I always tend to see nothing but really good things about Nintendo IPs in the news. So I was very shocked to see that there were a lot of strong opinions about this game when I went searching for what the press said for the run of
Ooh.
show. I think one of the funniest articles that I came across was a Vice article that said the title was literally "Just Let Me Skip Your Boring Combat," which I kind of have to agree. Like, the combat gets really boring. It gets super repetitive, super tedious after a while. Like, you agree? Like, do you agree that the combat is boring and that the combat is like it could have been handled better? Like, we just talked about this, but I mean, that's a pretty harsh title. Like, you do agree with like this guy saying like, just let me skip your boring combat?
I think it's important to mention that previous Paper Marios did not have the same battle mechanics as this current Origami King release did. So those who are very accustomed to the old turn-based RPG mechanics for the Paper Mario are going to find this a little bit kind of like tedious. Yes, you have to solve a puzzle for every single for every single boss and every single minion that you come across. So to some, it may seem boring. It does evolve as you progress in the story, meaning that as you play the game, it gets harder. The puzzles do not get easier. You have to literally start thinking outside the box. You have to use different items to be able to ensure that you wipe out your enemies in one fell swoop so you don't die to the attacks that are coming for you. So is it necessarily boring? No, but I think it's subjective because there are people like different play styles. There are different types of gamers that are out there. If you were looking at this to be a turn-based RPG mechanic, you got that, but you got that with a little puzzle sense to it. So it does have that. It's not free battle. It's not old school Paper Mario. So there is that difference. I wouldn't say it's boring, but I think it's just everybody's. There's different cup of teas. Some people like green tea, some people like black tea, some people like Earl Grey. It's gonna be different for everyone. Is this your cup of tea? Do you like puzzles? If you like puzzles, this game's for you.
Exactly. And this is a game for the observant, a game for people that love a good strategy. This game reminds me of the type of game that perhaps would land very well with Fire Emblem players. If you love the Fire Emblem strategy portion of the battles where you like have to like specifically pick where the people are going and what abilities they're using, like I could definitely see this being an interesting hit for you specifically. But as Nar said, this game I believe caters to a very specific type of player. I don't think that necessarily is a bad thing because, like I said, I feel like they might be a very underserved type of player. So this is a very big win for them. There was another article that I saw that actually brings up a very interesting point that I would like to talk to you about, Narz. I think that this might be something that we end up judging games on in the future. It's a game article that it comes from VG247, and they are actually rating the accessibility of all of the games that were released in July of 2020. So this actually includes Ghost of Tsushima, which we just reviewed last week here on GG. And so it's bringing up the question of whether the games that are being released are actually accessible for players that have disabilities or who might possibly be deaf or hard of hearing or might have some level of legal blindness, and they might have a trouble playing games and experiencing games in the way that like a regular player might have. And so they brought up some things about Paper Mario specifically, where they said that, this seems like a great game for people that might be, like they might have trouble, like, they're deaf or hard of hearing because the subtitles are throughout the whole, like you must play the game with subtitles because there's no voice acting. The only thing that they said was that, the subtitles progress very slowly, which I agree with them. The subtitles, they go very slowly and there's no way to like make it go faster. One thing they had a problem with was that while there is an option to turn off motion controls and rumble settings, so for players with limited mobility that can't hold their Joy-Cons and like move them in ways that you would need to in order to like use the 1,000-fold hands. There's an option for you to do that, but there's also settings in the game that are locked until you reach certain points in the game. But like in the article that I was referencing here about game accessibility, they mentioned Ghost of Tsushima, and they point out that a big way that you have to find your way in the game is that the wind shows you the way. And that can be kind of, even for me, like it was hard for me to see the wind and which way it was going. And they pointed out that that could potentially be a difficult, like a difficulty for players that have disabilities. Like, is that something that you like realize, and like what do you think is a way that they could address that? Like, is there like a more traditional waypoint that they could use for players to like find more accessibility in that game? Like, I just want to kind of hear your thoughts on that.
So I will be quite honest that I don't necessarily I don't really have experience with anyone that has a disability, so it's hard for me to pinpoint the things that would be super important. I think it's just like when it comes to people who are partially blind, I think it's really good to have like a specific indicator to show like where they're supposed to go. And I think that's what Ghost of Tsushima was. It was a little hard for that. Like the wind really did bring an atmosphere for Ghost of Tsushima, but for like Paper Mario, I think there were just certain things that for those who are colorblind, I think it would be a little bit hard to play this game. If
Yes.
you're not able to see certain sort of colors or something like that, you're not going to be able to see like certain things that are in the game that are supposed to draw your attention so that you could be able to either find a toad or a coin or something like that. So I think in that perspective, it really needs to. I think they should have had a colorblind mode for Paper Mario, the Origami King, for those who may not be able to see, or in this case, for young kids who may not be able to see. It's really interesting that they didn't have a lot of accessibility options or settings for this game, which I found a little bit weird considering that it's Nintendo. But I think that's something to consider. I think for Nintendo, for future Paper Mario games or just future Mario games in general, that if they want to reach a wider audience, they have to start thinking about other types of gamers and other types of people who may not be able to play the game in the way they think or can be able to play the game, because we do live in a world where there are different types of gamers now.
So you actually bring up a great point about the whole being a colorblind gamer playing this game. Like I'm not even colorblind, and even I was having trouble discerning some colors in different parts of the map because I was like, Chad had to point it out to me and be like, "Hey, that doesn't look right." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're right." Like I can't even imagine experiencing this game through the eyes of someone that is actually colorblind. So what game was it, Nars? We recently just played a game where you had to actually turn on the colorblind setting on the game in order to be able to see a specific part. I don't remember exactly what game it was, but like there was a game that we recently reviewed where like turning on the colorblind setting actually helped you in the game because the way that they color balanced the game was just not done right. We can
it was
probably
definitely a
reference that.
battle royale game. I think it was either Hyperscape or a
It was
game before
Hyperscape.
the yeah.
It was Hyperscape.
But like I'm not even colorblind, but I feel like there's certain things that when you have too much color, even people who are not necessarily colorblind have a very hard time being able to differentiate between what's important and not important. So you do have issues where you're going to have to change it to colorblind. It's awesome that they do have some of those options. Big games like League of Legends and obviously Hyperscape has those options. Valorant has those options as well. So I don't understand why Nintendo didn't add it to Paper Mario considering, but I think, like again, it should be an option they can consider for future Mario games to come in this. I mean, in the series, like they should. At the end of the day, it's paper. Duh.
I agree. I think that maybe in the future. So, like you said before, there are different types of gamers. This is obviously part of a larger conversation. We don't have to dwell on this now, but I feel like maybe in the future, there are charities like Able Gamers, which are dedicated to improving accessibility in the video game space for different types of players with disabilities that maybe prevent them from using a traditional Joy-Con or using a traditional handheld game stick. So like I think that maybe there's opportunity in the future for charities like this to work very closely with the game developers in ways that can help improve the experience for disabled players. I just think I just thought it was an interesting article that we could like touch on perhaps, and like maybe this is something we can think about in the future. And just to be more inclusive in our reviews, just to think about the accessibility of games for specific kinds of players. I just think that would be like an interesting way to like add bonus points to a game if we can be like, oh, they offer settings and accessibility for specific disabilities. So like that's like something that we're actually going to give a bonus to this game for because they thought about the different kinds of players that might be interested in playing this game. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting little article, and it seems to be a series that VG247 does. They rate games based on their accessibility. So if you guys are interested in seeing more about that, you can probably go check out their website. There was also an article that I found that said that Paper Mario the Origami King is the funniest game in Nintendo history. What do you think about that?
I agree. I do say that there are points in the game that are charming and quirky and sentimental, except for Olivia. Olivia could just, she could be removed from the entire game, and I'd be completely happy with that. There are times where Olivia does have like little like cute moments, and you're like, okay, she's the airhead that brings comic relief to the entire serious tone of the game. The game's not serious. I promise you that it's not serious.
It's really not.
It's really not. But it definitely does have its moments. I would say it's probably, would I say it's the funniest Paper Mario? Probably. Probably. The other Paper Marios were very, very serious. So I would say that, is it the funniest Mario game? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I had so much fun reading all of the dialogue, like even on chat, like acting it out with my followers and just like doing the ridiculous accents and doing the funny dialogue that Nintendo wrote for me. Like, I just definitely had a lot of fun doing it. So I would agree with this article 100%. Like, I would have to cross-reference this. Maybe I would play a few more Nintendo games to just really make sure that I did my research and call this the funniest game in Nintendo history. But I would definitely call this game up there because I had so much fun reading the dialogue, and I just thought this game was so silly, so goofy all the way through. So I definitely had fun experiencing it.
It is definitely a comic relief. So if you want something in between your Ghost of Tsushima or your Valorant or anything like that, it does offer a lot more comic relief for your day. If you and I find that I zen out to this more than I do anything else, like in between Valorant or something like that. I'll definitely play this game for the comic relief and humor. And there are moments where you just kind of like you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and then there are just times that you're like, okay, that was actually really funny.
Okay, so do you feel like we've kind of touched on just about everything we could be judging this game for? Like, do you feel like you've said everything you need to touch base on? Like,
There's one thing I definitely want to mention. This game has made me really consider being a voice actress. I don't know if you guys have been watching my stream, but I don't like the fact that there's no VO in this game, so I've added VO to it. So I've given people accents and stuff like that. So I went ham on some of the accents. I gave some people some British accents from the wonderful island of England, and then I gave other people like very stoic kind of voices. And then I gave them even more voices for like cool things. And it was just really fun. It was absolutely fun. If you guys want to go check it out, I clipped a lot of them on my twitch.tv if you want to go check it out. But I continued playing this game just for that VO opportunity, and I will continue to stream this game. So yeah, come join me. Otherwise, I'm gonna be doing all of these voices, and I'm gonna think I'm crazy doing them all by myself.
I think it's so funny because I think we both really like got lost in the sauce of the VO aspect of it as we were playing the game because like I gave my best Luigi. I'm gonna have to clip it on my channel. I gave my best Luigi and then I tried to, when we were in the part with the trees, and they were like, well, you gotta help Grand Sappy because he ain't been the same. You need to find him a soul seed. I was like, I feel like I need to give him straight down southern over here. They're talking about like they from Arkansas, like y'all got to find the soul seed to help Grand Sappy. I was like, okay, I'll slip right into this one. I just I felt like it was a great opportunity to like make accents, like you said. So I had a lot of fun playing it like that. So do you think it's just about time to pull up the GG scoreboard, Nars?
I believe so.
Okay, so why don't you walk us through what the scores will be that we are judging this game?
Alrighty, guys. So we're gonna queue up the score for this, guys. It's a score between 1 and 4. Obviously, 1, it's a bad game. Don't play. It's unplayable. 2, I wouldn't play this game, but I would understand why someone would. 3 is I would play this game, but I understand why someone wouldn't. And 4 is a perfect score, 4 out of 4. Only a couple of games have gotten that score. I think it was Ghost of Tsushima and Final Fantasy. Well, so will this game get a 4 out of 4 from me? No, it's not gonna get a 4 from me. I'm probably gonna give this game a honestly, this is hard because I will be playing this game, but I understand why someone wouldn't play this game. I understand why someone absolutely wouldn't. So I'm giving this a 3 out of 4. I'm enjoying this game a lot. It's very time consuming. It's very tedious, but it does offer me that kind of just like break from reality where I can just mind meld into origami and just be one with the paper. So it's like I take my butterfly. I'm just like, and I feel it. I feel it. I feel like I'm one with the paper.
Like you said before, it is supposed to be Zen, so
It's supposed
of
to be
course.
Zen.
So I think overall, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you. I'm gonna give this game a 3. I really went back and forth with this as I was playing the game. I was trying to think about it, and I was like, am I gonna get your Zen out with your butterfly right now? I'm not. I'm not even gonna bother trying to figure you out right now. So yeah, I'm gonna give this game a 3. I went back and forth with it. I struggled at the beginning to kind of find my way with this game and learn all the nuances of it. But I think overall, I really enjoyed being able to experience a different kind of battle system. I feel like it's unique, especially with all of the games that we have happening right now. I feel like this game was very innovative and unique in that it tried to be different from a world where a lot of games are derivative of each other right now. I feel like a lot of people are trying to jump on the bandwagon of either battle royales or CS:GO type FPS games. Like Valorant, trying to jump on that. Even though I love Valorant, like I'm not trying to shit talk Valorant right now, but I just think that this game offers like a very interesting departure from the derivative games, and I have to respect it for that. However, we talked about all of the issues that I have with this game's battle system and how I feel like it lacks incentive. I feel like it lacks a sense of being rewarding. Even if you do spend forever trying to figure out a puzzle, it just kind of feels like it was all for nothing because the rewards you get for it are rewards you could get somewhere else instead. And I just definitely feel like the game's objectives were not made clearly enough to you as you were trying to figure out your way throughout the world. So for this, I definitely have to give it a 3. And that's because of the language that we use in the review that Narz said, which is that I will play this game, but I would understand why people wouldn't. So as you guys can see, you've probably seen me looking down at certain points in the episode. It is in fact because I am looking at my Switch because I'm trying to catch some extra Paper Mario time in there. But I do understand why there are some people who would write articles, much like the guy in Vice, that say things like, just let me skip your boring combat. Because honestly, yeah, the combat system pretty much sucks. It was fun for the first 20 times, and after that, I'm pretty much over it, especially the boss battles. So I will give this a 3 just because I think the game is charming. I think everything else about this game is absolutely wrapped up perfectly, perfect synergy, beautiful. But God, do I wish that you guys gave me a combat system that just made me feel more involved overall. Like instead of just moving rings around a circle, like that just kind of like kills my whole um, you know, motivation to keep playing the game and battling enemies. I'm just gonna run away from your enemies at that point. So yeah.
But I feel like this game offers you the opportunity to like figure out a puzzle and feel like you're being smart, right? Like I don't know,
True.
like for me,
Yeah.
like I feel like every single time I play the battle mechanics, I feel like I'm forcing my brain to think outside the box. And I feel like this although it's like with this battle system, it offers an opportunity for you to think outside the box and try to fight your enemies. I get frustrated, yes, with this game, which is why I just throw coins at it. But I think it offers an opportunity, a play style that has never been seen before. I
No,
think
I
it's just
agree with
because
you.
it's new. It's hard to like become accustomed to it.
No, that's 100% true. So like I said before, it took me a while to get eased into it, but once I did, I jumped from giving this game like a 2 to a 3, which if you look at the ratings board, actually a pretty significant jump between 2 and 3. So I think that, clearly this game caters to a very specific type of player, an underserved market, which I believe, you guys deserve your due. So I will give you that and I will give you that respect. I just definitely feel like there are parts of this game that like keep it from me rating it a perfect game. With that being said, I believe this game is like the perfect palate cleanser right now. So if you're looking for a fun, lighthearted, goofy, silly little game to play just to keep your mind off of things, I would absolutely recommend this game because it's extremely immersive. It will allow you to lose a ton of hours of time if you're looking for time to kill. And it'll give you the opportunity to just kind of like, have fun, hit a couple of trees, gather some confetti, and just, be goofy for a couple of hours,
This
which is
game
definitely
will make you use your brain.
This game will make you use your brain. Yes, it will. And I don't mind that. Like I said, I'm a big puzzle fan. So why not? I like the puzzle aspect of the game. Sure. It's great. So I have no qualms with that. None whatsoever. Do not misunderstand me here. I do love the puzzle aspect. Just like make it feel like it's worth something.
Be one with the origami.
You're you're so zened out right now. I need to reach your level of zen right now.
You just need to keep playing the game and then just keep giving Toads coins and you'll find my happiness.
That's it. There you have it right there. So Nars, before we go into our trailer for next time, you kept hinting at an origami story. And I am like dying to hear. You've been baiting me with this story for days. Like, tell me what it is.
Okay. So when I was in 4th grade, I want to say 3rd or 4th grade, I used to actually do origami for money. So what I would actually do, and I actually have it here, is back in the day, back in my day, we had pencils. We didn't have those ridiculous pens and whatever the pencils were that has lead in it. We had pencils. So pencil shavings were a big issue. So I ended up making money making these little cups. Yeah, money I made. So I would sell these little cups that you can actually put all of your pencil shavings inside of it and then literally close it and then throw it away. I would sell it for 50 cents and I made so much money that I end up going to the school library and renting the origami book that was at the school library and doing all of the origami in the school there was like tons of origami books in the elementary school that I went to, and I just started creating like cranes. I created this is a rose over here, but I would make origami for money, and I was really good at it, and I did it for 2 years, and I made so much money. I literally kept buying myself like pizza and soda and candy, and I was the origami girl in elementary school,
You
and I
supported your lifestyle with origami.
with origami. Yeah, it was really crazy.
Oh my god. Look at you with your little side hustle. I am proud of you. Oh my god. At least, something, I respect you because your side hustle was like something that you did creatively. Do you want to know what my side hustle was in high school? I
What
used
was
to
your
go to
hug?
the I used to go to the Christmas tree shops and I used to buy ring pops in bulk. And you know how Christmas tree shops sells like a lot of like older stuff that's definitely like you haven't really seen it in a normal store in a very long time. Ring pops were like a novelty for where I went to high school. I went to a performing arts high school. And so everybody was like, "Oh, where'd you get that ring pop?" And I was like, "Oh, I just bought it." They were like, "Oh, if you're ever selling them, let me know." And I was like, interesting. I could make some money off of this, perhaps. And so I went to Christmas tree shops and I bought the bags of them. There were like 5 of them for $1. And I would buy bulk and bulk of these ring pops. And then I would sell each of the ring pops for $1 a pop. And I would make a shit ton of cash just like bootleg selling ring pops at lunch, which like you definitely weren't allowed to do that. There were definitely people in the lunchroom like watching us to make sure that we were not selling things at lunchtime. But I would like slide up to the lunch tables and I'd like slide a ring pop under the table and be like, cherry, $1. You in? And they'd be like, I'll take 5. And they'd like slide me a cool Lincoln and I'd be like, all right, cool. There you go. All right. And we do like the head bob, like, cool.
The candy dealer over here. We got the origami queen and the candy dealer. I love it. I think we should make emotes based upon
We
that.
should. That's why they call me Holly Peppermint Girl because I make the candy rain all
Oh, that's
day.
so funny.
Oh my god.
Um,
Okay, I'm really glad that we went down this tangent of learning about our very lucrative trades in our youth of earning that side hustle. Like, look at us entrepreneuring. Look at us.
I know. And then we became content creators and
And then
bona fide nerds.
and then we became e-girls. What's up, y'all? Anyway,
All right, guys. So the next game we're going to be playing next week and we're going to be reviewing is one of the most popular games, surprisingly enough, all over on Twitch, on social media. It's called Fall Guys. If you don't know about it, then you're living under a rock, and we're gonna help get you back on top. So let's see the trailer for game Fall Guys right now, esports girls. That's what we are. But this is definitely one of those esport games. It's about 99 players or something like that, I think. There's definitely a lot of players, and you all have to go through what looks like Mario Party kind of like games to be number 1.
Oh my god, I am so unnaturally good at Mario Party games. This is my time to shine.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like Mario Party mixed with, American Ninja, I guess you can say. You can customize your own whatever that thing is.
Oh my. Look, now that G4 is coming back, do you remember Unbeatable Banzuke?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? This is giving me Unbeatable Banzuke vibes here. Let's go. I am so ready for this. I am so good at meaningless games that like literally have no bearing on anything in real life. Like I'm so good at like useless skills that you can't use anywhere else. Like this is my time. Guys, this is my time.
Um, Inceptious, I agree with you. I hope Red Bull will fund or sponsor a Fall Guys tournament. I think this could technically be an esport in the foreseeable future, just
This would be
because
amazing.
how much traction is gotten from it. It's actually pretty interesting how, like, I think the developers never thought it would get this far or like get this popular, but it did. And yeah, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, it's out right now on it's a multiplayer game. It's made by Devolver Digital, which is pretty interesting considering they've made other games that are not like this. So they like have made Hotline Miami, Serious Sam, Enter the
Oh,
Gungeon. So this is a different take on
I
some
love
of their
Enter
other games since they're based out of Austin. So this will be the game that we'll be playing next week, guys. So yeah, be sure to tune into our streams up until then, because we'll definitely be playing that on our streams.
Oh man, I'm everyone and their mother is talking about this game, tweeting about this game, playing this game right now. Like if I look on my left panel here with my followed channels, everyone is playing Fall Guys right now. Like this is just the game of the moment. So I am very excited to finally play this. Oh man, like I just the concept of it being like Mario Party games, like I said, I'm so good at like dumb games that don't mean anything. I can't wait to see how good I am at this game.
Yeah, should we also tell people what to expect within the month of August? What games that to expect as well? Should we let that out of the hat as well?
We can just so that they can kind of whet their appetite a little bit. Why don't you part the kimono a little bit? Let them know what we've got going on.
Yeah, so guys, we're going to be reviewing obviously next week Fall Guys. The week after that, we will be reviewing Rogue Company, followed by Grounded, and then last but not least, I forgot what was the last one. I think that's it for August. Yeah, that would be it for August since it's already the 1st of August, and then we're in September. So yeah, guys,
Oh
be
my
sure to check
god.
out for Fall Guys, Rogue Company, and Grounded, which are going to be coming up. We're going to be reviewing them. And then it's September. Oh my gosh, can you believe it?
Girl, I'm still in March. Let's not even talk about. Let's not even have that conversation. I'm still at PAX. Mentally, I'm still at PAX East and
Yeah, seriously. That's me
oh
too.
my
That
god.
is me too.
If you guys want to join the fun, we may actually, since this is such a big game, we may actually invite some other people to play with us for some footage of next week's episode. So we might be playing in the official 368 Discord. So if you'd like to join us on Discord and engage with our community, we are Discord. Discord is not discord.gg anymore; it's discord.com now. So we are 368. You can join our official Discord server, and you can actually get updates of like all of the shows that we do, all of the giveaways that we do, all of our social posts, and we're going to try to integrate some more community gameplay for our upcoming episodes because we'd love to be able to play with you guys as well in order to get content for these episodes. So I think that we'll have a lot of fun doing that. I mean, this game looks so fun. Like, don't you want to play this with us? Like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So Crow says at most 4 people are allowed in a party. Okay, so like there's opportunity for us to like play with up to 2 people extra if we wanted to do something like that. So yeah, definitely go ahead and check us out on Discord if you'd like to join our community. I think we can actually post an invite link in the channel, which I'll go ahead and try to do here. Narz, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you on social media?
Yes, if you guys want to check me out, I am Narz, Narz. That's me on Twitch and on Twitter and Instagram. I'm trying to get twitch.tv/Narz, but it's Narz with 4 Z's, unfortunately. I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays, so go check that out because I will be streaming this game up until next week. I'm probably gonna also slide in some Paper Mario in there. So if you missed our review, if you're just coming in right now, I will talk about our review today. Moving forward when I play Paper Mario as well as Fall Guys. Moving forward, where can people find you, Holly?
I am a pretty easy brand to recognize here. So if you want to find me, I am at HollyPeppermint on Twitter and Instagram. You guys can see my little tag down at the bottom there. Twitch.tv/HollyPeppermint. I have been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima recently, but also on my channel, I actually do the game of the week here on GG. So I will be playing this game, Fall Guys, for next week. So if you want to join me, you can watch that. I recently finally made affiliate, so I'm very excited, and I broke 100 followers, so I'm super excited about
Everybody
that.
go follow
Yay.
her.
So if you guys would like to follow me, I play a variety of games, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you would like to follow more of 368, we are 368 GG Reviews. We do a weekly game review show. It's me, Holly, with my co-host Narz, and we do game reviews every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also do a show every Thursday now at 10 p.m., which is super late at 368. It is your late night gaming show and week in gaming culture. Last week we had Keemstar lurking in the chat. So, like, I don't know. You guys might want to tune in tomorrow to see what happens because it's going
Can
to
we-
get a little
The
crazy.
most important aspect of that was Slasher being on the show. Let's give credit to Slasher being on there because
Man,
that was just
we had Slasher, we had Devin Nash as hosts and special guests. Well, Gabe and Bijan are our hosts, and then they were our special guests. And then we had Keemstar lurking in the chat trying to start drama. Y'all already know how he is. So tune in tomorrow to see who we have as our special guest, if we have one, and we're super excited to share that with you guys. So yeah, we do a bunch of different shows here every week on 368. You can go ahead and follow us on social. We are at 368 on Twitter and Instagram. And right here on Twitch, because you are watching the channel, we are twitch.tv/368NYC. You can follow us on social just to get the latest updates on all of our shows and anytime we are going live. So with that, I believe we are all caught up on housekeeping, right, Narz? That's everything?
yes, we are. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for Fall Guys review, and hopefully you guys enjoyed our review today. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, guys, GG.
GG.